Sometimes life looks okay from the outside. You've got a job, a place to stay, maybe even some moments of laughter and normalcy. But inside, there's this emptiness. You wake up, go through the motions, speak when spoken to, smile when expected, but it feels hollow. Not sad, not angry, just numb. A quiet disconnection that creeps in slowly and stays. And then comes the guilt. You think, what's wrong with me? Other people have it worse. Why do I feel like this? But the truth is, emotional numbness isn't about how good or bad your life looks. It's about what your nervous system has carried without relief. It's what happens when you suppress too much for too long, when your heart learns it's safer not to feel than to feel too much. This numbness is not weakness. It's not selfishness. It's your body's way of protecting you when it can't process anymore. You're not broken, you're frozen. You've been in survival mode for so long that your emotions simply shut down. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're unloving. It means you're tired. Deeply, invisibly tired. And the way forward is not through pushing harder or faking positivity. It's through gentleness, through noticing the small things, a breeze that feels real, a moment where music moves you for the first time in days. That's how you begin to thaw. You don't need to feel everything all at once. You don't need to force a smile or pretend that joy has returned. Healing is slow. Reconnection happens in tiny fragments, not grand breakthroughs. When life feels emotionally flat, it's okay to sit in that space, to breathe, to rest, to give yourself grace. You are not alone. You are not failing. And you are definitely not numb because something is wrong with you. You're numb because you've endured so much, and it's okay to not bounce back immediately. This is not the end of you. This is a pause, a waiting room where your soul is gently asking, can we feel again when it's safe? And the answer is, yes, slowly, in your own time, and with deep compassion. You don't owe the world constant emotional availability. You owe yourself kindness. So if all you did today was get up and exist, that's enough. If you feel nothing but still showed up, that's courage. And if your heart feels silent, know that silence is sometimes sacred. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are healing, even if you can't feel it yet. You might remember a time when things used to move you, a song that stirred your soul, a story that made you cry, a moment with a friend that felt like everything was in sync. But now, those same things feel distant. Not wrong, just muted, and what's hardest is, you can't quite explain it. How do you describe a feeling that isn't really there? How do you talk about a silence inside you that even you don't fully understand? Emotional numbness doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it slips in quietly, like fog, until one day you noticed you haven't really felt in a while. Maybe it started with one small disappointment you brushed off, then another, and then a heartbreak you never fully processed. And slowly, the layers built up. You didn't stop feeling on purpose. It just became too much to feel at all. This isn't a defect. It's defense. A defense your heart built to survive. Because somewhere along the way, life taught you that vulnerability comes at a cost. That caring too much leaves you exposed. That crying too hard makes you seem weak. So you adapted, you became strong, you coped, you stayed composed, high-functioning, dependable, but in doing so, a part of you began to disappear beneath the armor. Maybe you didn't even realize it at first, because numbness isn't always painful. Sometimes, it's oddly peaceful because feeling nothing is easier than feeling everything. But the peace is fragile. It's not the real kind. It's the kind that comes from suppression, not serenity. And when someone asks you, how are you? You say, I'm fine, not because you are, but because you've forgotten what not fine feels like. Because naming your emotions requires access. And right now, that access is closed. Let me tell you something important. This moment you're in, this emotional silence, it's not permanent. It's not who you are, what you're going through. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes, it looks like stillness. Sometimes, it's the decision to keep breathing, even when you feel disconnected from everything around you. And that choice to keep going is its own form of strength. We often think healing comes when we snap out of it, but real healing is quieter. It begins when you stop fighting your numbness and start listening to what it might be trying to protect. It begins when you stop labeling yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as someone who's weathered a storm. If you look back, maybe you'll notice that you've survived a lot. You've shown up on days when showing up felt impossible. You've carried grief that had no name. You've kept moving even when you didn't feel motivated. That's not weakness. That's resilience in its rawest form. And now, perhaps the bravest thing you can do is rest. Give yourself space to feel without forcing it, to breathe without having to fix, to cry or not cry, to sit in silence and just be. Let the numbness pass through without judgment. Let it speak or stay quiet. But know this, it will not last forever, because your soul remembers how to feel. It just needs time to feel safe again. You are not behind. You are not numb because you lack faith or drive or purpose. You are numb because you have a heart that's been through more than it could hold. And hearts like that, they don't break. They pause, they rest, and then, when ready, they beat again. You may have noticed yourself withdrawing not from people, necessarily, but from life. You respond to texts, you do the job. You smile when someone says something nice. But it's mechanical. It's not that you don't care, it's that you can't seem to feel that you care. The heart is there, but it's buried under expectations, under fatigue, under this thick fog you didn't invite but now live inside. And there's a strange loneliness to this kind of numbness. Not the loneliness of being physically alone, but the ache of being unseen in your internal world. Because how do you explain to others that you're not sad or unhappy, but just quietly fading, that you're watching your own life from the outside in, hoping one day to feel like a participant again? The numbness can show up in your habits too. Things you used to enjoy now feel like chores. Food doesn't taste the same. Music doesn't move you. You scrolled endlessly through your phone, not looking for anything, just trying to feel something. You cancel plans, not because you don't like people, but because you don't have the energy to pretend. And still, you blame yourself. But let's pause for a moment. What if your numbness is not a failure to feel, but a sign that your emotions are over? What if your heart has been absorbing pain, disappointment, pressure quietly? You see, when emotions have no safe outlet, the mind finds ways to protect you. One of those ways is disconnection, emotional shutdown. It's like your brain saying, let's go dark for a while. It's too much. This isn't sabotage, it's survival. It's your body doing what it can to keep you moving when you're too overwhelmed to process what's inside. And this is why self-compassion matters. Because what you're going through can't be solved by shame. You can't bully yourself back into passion. You can't hustle your way into wholeness. What you need isn't more discipline. What you need is gentleness, a soft place to land, a voice, maybe even your own, saying, it's okay that you feel nothing. You've been carrying too much. Let's take a moment and imagine your heart as a garden, a space that once bloomed with feeling, and now it lies still, not dead, just wintered. You don't blame a winter field for not bearing fruit. You know it's resting. You trust that, under the frost, life still stirs, that one day, warmth will return, and something new will grow. You deserve to be held with that same grace. So, if you're feeling emotionally flat, know this. Your numbness is not a sign of failure, but a pause, a sacred pause, one that invites you to rest, not to retreat forever, but to prepare for the return. And in that space, allow yourself small, anchor-steady moments of presence. Light a candle, touch something warm, let music play, even if you don't feel it. Go for a walk without needing it to fix you. These aren't acts of productivity. They are acts of love. They are your way of reminding your nervous system, it's safe. We're still here. We're still alive. You are more than your numbness. You are a whole story, paused at a chapter, not ended. You will feel again, and when you do, the joy will be deeper. The tears will be truer, and you'll carry a strength carved in stillness. So for now, be still. Not because you've stopped, but because you're listening. And that, too, is progress.